Hi there, this is Daniel from ComrAdversaries, and this is the first video in our channel. So we're just going to be talking about what we plan to be doing on this channel, just more or less what we're got in store for you. So my name is Daniel. I'm one of the two people that create videos for our channel. Matt, who is my co-conspirator here, he's not here today. We're actually just going to start off with something nice and slow for just me to play. Picking Final Fantasy VII because it's a game I grew up on. I've played it for God knows how long, and it's something I can play relatively simply just to kind of get into this whole recording my talking to you guys stuff. So we're just going to dive right in. I'm going to pull up the game right now. This is my first time ever playing the PS4 version, so I think this is actually the port of the PC version of the game. It's not the regular version that I grew up on the PS1 and everything like that. You know, it's one of those games that, you know, it's kind of cliche to have as your favorite. Everyone's played it for a long time. Everyone's known it inside and out, and it's hard to beat a classic. I mean, it's got one of the best, you know, stories in the game series. It's got one of the best, you know, battle systems, and some of the characters are great. Some of them are a little bit dicey at best, but overall, it's iconic. It's hard to get past that. I mean, it's one of those series that really brought one of the mainstream, you know, fantasy series over to the West, and a lot of people wouldn't have played the other games if they hadn't had this one to go from. I mean, at the time, these visuals were absolutely stunning, so it was kind of neat to see all this stuff, you know, going back to it time and time again. And this is probably like my, I would say, 40th time playing through the game. I don't tend to actually finish the game, to be fair. I tend to play about to halfway through kind of range, but I just always loved even just the Midgar opening area. It's compelling, it's got good pacing, it's got a lot of interesting stuff, comedy, stuff like that. Simple stuff like, you know, we're going to see Cloud getting cross-dressing and stuff later on and stuff like that. I'm not going to be reading out all the voices. You might be able to tell I'm also a little bit sick, which is great for the first video ever, but I just wanted to, you know, I'm not going to be able to read everything out because I also have, you know, dyslexia, so it tends to make it hard for me to read things out loud. But I will give you guys kind of just the gist of what's going on in the story as speech bubbles are flying by. Because I know a lot of people, like, personally, when I watch YouTube, I'm sometimes kind of doing it like radio in the background. So while I won't read everything out, I will give you kind of a basic idea of what people are saying and when. So if you're watching, you know, we're kind of pulling up to our first action scene here. And you gotta love when that music kicks in. So with this coming out, I mean, it's one of those games that really knows how to hit that note to start, right? Automatically, you already know something cool's going on, something's crazy. We're falling in, we're just running out to start, following a bunch of crazy people into what looks like a military base, and we go right into our first fight. So it's got that good start hook to the game. I've always enjoyed the way it started. And then we get into some iconic characters. I mean, say what you will about how, you know, we'll say emo or sad or, you know, kind of ridiculous Cloud can be. He's a cool character. He is. He's got the, you know, one of the coolest iconic games in all of video games. That sword is the Buster Sword, and obviously you can't really beat it. And that victory stance, the spinning of the sword, it's fantastic. Oh, I got a trophy. Woohoo! First blood. I'm not one of those big trophy guys, like good trophy hunters or anything like that. I never even really try for anything. I don't think I've ever platinumed a single game. It's just not my deal. More or less what we're looking at. So here we are, Cloud's kind of getting to learn out what's going on. He's kind of allying himself with a kind of a terrorist group called Avalanche, and they're just basically, you know, trying to get into a door right now, and he's, you know, asking why they're there. Mentioning that Cloud here is a soldier, so he's kind of soldier is a specialty class of military at one point. They're asking her name. You know, when I was a kid, I did go with the original names, like my first playthrough always, but then I named them something crazy. There really aren't many games where I do overwrite the names unless I know there's something particularly funny that I can do. My personal favorite is in Final Fantasy IX. You name Steiner Rusty, and then every time he says my name's not Rusty, it's Rusty, it gives me a little chuckle there, so it's a good one to go for. So yeah, they're just you know, getting names and stuff like this. There's a couple of members of Avalanche here. You know, even these characters, they're basically side characters, and none, you know, spoilers alert, that, you know, I'm giving stuff away long before. They're not going to be around forever. They're still very interesting characters. they just have these, overall, you could see any one of these characters not being just a side character. They could have been in the game, and it could have been this is the team you go forward with. Here we're introduced to one of our main characters, Barrett. This character that I was never a huge fan of. I mean, he's cool and all, but I just didn't like, the gun for arm was a little on the nose, and being a hardcore Mega Man fan, I was like, that's, it's not as cool as Mega Buster, even though it's nowhere near comparable. So it's like, it's just a personal thing more than anything else. Just run around here and just get some extra fights in. I once tried to do what I used to do these things where I'd sit and I'd try and grind out the beginning area of a game for as long as I possibly could as a challenge for myself. And I once ground out to level around 50-some in the beginning area here and killed the guard scorpion we got coming up. I killed him with a meteor rain, so that was lots of fun. In terms of the series, I don't know how I'm going to handle grinding too much. I don't intend to do a whole lot of editing, to tell you the truth. The only thing I might do is just to make sure the pacing is good and I'm not, dying at bosses and stuff like that. I may, after, 1 or 2 sessions, if I start feeling that there's a little bit of a pinch, I'll do some grinding off camera. But it'll be one of those things where it'll just be, we get to a good spot for grinding, I'll level up by, a couple levels, and then I'll come right back into playing like normal. I don't intend to do any crazy power leveling, and while I intend to play through the whole game, I need you guys to hold me to it. If I try to play through the whole game, I'm probably not going to 100% every materia or something like that, or anything like that. I'm just going to play through the story at a pretty good pace. Here we can just see Cloud and them, they're talking a little bit about what's going on, why they're here, why he's been hired. Basically that, there's an evil company called Shinra. Shinra's been doing some shady stuff, basically stealing power from the Earth, selling it, like some sort of natural resource. It's not renewable, oil or something. Oh wait, no, it's Mako, or Mako, whatever you want to call it. Basically the life energy of the planet. That's what's going on here. So we're basically going to this reactor to blow it up. It's interesting how some of these things, at the time, as a kid, I didn't fully catch on to everything at first, and then you go back and you play it again and you're like, oh, okay, that's what I was talking about. I was just having fun beating up dudes with a big sword. It's one of those things that the story, I think when you're a kid, is less as important, but when you get to that point where you get really invested, you have to know what the story is going on as a kid. Like I remember playing the game when I was really young, and going back and starting over, because now I was invested in the characters and it wasn't just a stupid RPG that I had gotten from a friend. I actually wanted to play through it, and it wasn't even my friend, it was my big brother's friend was playing it at our house once, and he was about midway through the game, and I remember really enjoying the characters, and I watched him play it, and I didn't know what the story was going on, so again, stuff I didn't get, but it was about diving into these cool characters after, and then going through it again and enjoying the whole story and stuff like that. I can't say that that it's my all-time favorite game. It's definitely up there. And once again, no cliche, my all-time favorite game is going to be Ocarina of Time. But it's something where easily from an RPG standpoint, this is it. Like the characters are so good. The battle system, the materia system, I think is great. I'm going to talk a little bit about the elephant in the room, in my opinion, is going to be what are they going to do for the remake? I don't know. The remake being a third-person action game, it's not that I have a problem with third-party action. Like, those games are pretty good, even Final Fantasy 15, which, to be honest, once again, haven't really gotten through the whole thing. Well, not bad, it's just I miss this, good guys on one side, bad guys on another. Give me a complex, system of how do I make my characters more powerful. Give me control of all of them. Let that be how I build a team, right? I get the idea of you've got the ability to do these fancy animations of having people jump around and shoot and blow stuff up, but it's you don't feel like it's your team as much, right? Like in 15, which I, once again, I have to admit, I haven't played far enough to really give it a fair judge. But I rarely feel like in that game when I'm playing, like I'm in control of anyone other than Noctis, right? And yeah, you get those command grabs and stuff like that, but there's spells at that point. You don't really have that feel of this is my character that does this, or this is my character and this is why he's cool. And you used to get that from JRPGs. That used to be how you had that, customizability. Now a lot of RPG elements nowadays bleed into other games, so that's you kind of get some of that back. But it's just this simple frame that I miss. You know what I mean? And there's been a couple of games that have come out and done a pretty good job of them, like really by Default was a pretty good game that came out and trying to do a lot of the classic stuff. And it had some neat stuff in it. I couldn't get too far into that because I know the story had some major issues that kind of fell flat for me. But it still it did have something for me there, right? And it's that ability to, have a classic feeling RPG. And it is nostalgia, and I get that. But it feels a lot like it's a genre that's gone away, right? It's not the same as it used to be, largely. I mean, you can't look at the past, we'll say, till maybe almost Final Fantasy X, that series hasn't been the same. Now, I'm not saying that I don't like any Final Fantasy after 10. I do. I thoroughly enjoyed 12. Thought it was very different. I had a little bit of problem with some grindiness in it, and the battles took a really long time. But all in all, that was interesting. Yeah, main character fell a little flat, but yeah, otherwise it was fine. I do know that, even 13, which a lot of people have a lot of problems with, was closer to an RPG classic system. I mean, it was obviously way different, but it was still about having your character, and it was them on one side against the bad guys, and it was a little animated, but it was still kind of these arena battles that felt like a normal fight. It just still wasn't quite the same. So here we are, we've reached our reactor, we're going to blow some stuff up. Cloud has a little bit of a weird thing going on. His head rings occasionally, sees some pretty ominous looking words, and just ignores them, just brushes them off like it's no big deal. Yeah, is what it is. So here, we'll get into that stuff later on. Cloud, who, isn't a soldier, supposed to be this great fighter, also a bomb technician, that never really comes up again. I don't know, they didn't really talk about that at any point beyond that. And we get into our first boss fight. Now this guy, he's a Guard Scorpion, like I said before, my favorite thing with him ever was dealing with blowing him up with Meteor Rain, which is like one of the final abilities in the game. He's not really a tough boss, he's there kind of to teach you some basics. The best part about that is that they kind of screwed up on one of the basics. So when you are supposed to attack him at one point, it tries to warn you that his tail is up, he's on guard, he's going to hit you back. But it tells you to attack him, which is the opposite of what you should do. But as far as I understand, that was a translation issue, which, I mean, that stuff kind of happens once in a while, and they can actually be quite charming. Like, I kind of like that happened, because it's just goofy, and it's just one of those things that you can thoroughly enjoy how weird it is that actually happened, that you're clearly being lied to by the game. And it's not a major concern, obviously, because it's a first boss. You're not going to lose to him too poorly, even if you do something wrong. But it's just one of those funny things that happens. I know that in the remake, the things that we've seen with this enemy look really cool. I'm really excited about the idea of the remake. But there are things that I'm worried about, and it's going to be things in the battle system. So here's the part I was talking about. Cloud, better be careful. It's going to tell you to attack while the tail is up. It's supposed to be do not attack. So it's just one of those things that's just not quite what they think they meant. We're just going to hang around here, look really very quickly, and we'll go through more about how all the mechanics work. I know that most people who, if anyone's watching this with me, is not necessarily, it's quite an old game. It's had a lot of people's favorites. I doubt anyone's going to be too blind on how the mechanics work of the game in terms of a materia system and all that stuff, but we'll get to that. I'll go through a quick little tutorial of how I always viewed it and why I like it. Like, I'm not going to go through every little mechanic, just more about why I like the mechanics. We'll get to that a little bit later when we get to fiddle around with that stuff. But yeah, it's one of those things that this the remake has a couple key things that I think would be really cool. They're going to expand on some basic stuff that needs expanding. I just really hope they don't screw with the story too much. And it's going to be, my main concern is with my favorite part of the game, in terms of a mechanic. and that is that materia system. The materia system can be so good. There's so many cool things you can do with it. Oh, there he goes. Just beat up the first boss without even having to heal or anything. I was getting ready to use a potion there, but yeah, came out fine. There we go. Let's see how we're doing. Good. Got the assault gun. All good and well. Time to get out of here before we all die from the fire explosion we created. Yeah, it's one of those things where, you know, there's things in the game that if they don't do right will fall really flat and not have the same weight. But there's other things that, like you saw there, I was supposed to be attacked from behind. You tap L&R twice, or sorry, once, and at the same time, and it causes the characters to flip around and you get out of that back attack way quicker. I'm not quite sure why they did that. I don't know if that was, once again, something I didn't foresee, or if it was something that they had no way of programming around back at the time. But yeah, neat little trick. Yeah, so there's things like that I'm worried about in the new one. Like this game, because of the graphics were at the time, it's actually pretty violent, and a lot of the violence is quite gory, and I'm not sure how that's going to carry over into the now hyper-realistic graphics they've got going. I mean, if you look at like a couple of the fights, I'm just going to heal up Barrett here quickly. Not a couple of fights, but a couple of scenes later on that have like a fair amount of blood involved and a fair amount of dark stuff, like visuals, that in these graphics came across fine. They were kind of goofy. Could be quite shocking to see in hyper-realistic. I mean, once again, we'll talk about a little stuff later on, but there's scenes like the snake that's, you know, gets speared later on, we'll see, and killed his head, and some of the blood later on in the Shinra building. I'm just worried how that's going to come across. I mean, don't get me wrong, I have nothing wrong with a mature game, but that, I'm thinking of like me as a kid playing a game. I don't know how well I would have handled what I did as a kid with today's graphics as I did with these graphics. Because these graphics you could whitewash over, oh, it's just a little blood, or oh, that's a little bit gory, but fine, but it's not like hyper realistic. So I mean, once again, not that I have a problem with the mature tone to a game. I'm all for it if it's the right context, but I just wonder about like me as a kid. Like, are we taking away Final Fantasy VII from poor old child Daniel? I don't know. So we'll have to wait and see. You know, I haven't decided what I'm going to do when that game comes out. If I'm going to play it, I guess it depends on how far we are in this. You know, and more details on the game, because frankly we don't know a whole lot. See, there we are rescuing our friend Jessie. One of those characters and those things I do hope they expand a little bit on in the remake, because she was a neat character that seems like almost could have been an actual character, and was only in there for like a little while. Here we are backtracking back and forth through a door. Yeah, it's oh, am I gonna do it again? Hopefully not. Yeah, she's an interesting character. She had a neat design, and she kind of had this, you almost got this feel that her and Cloud had a little bit of something. Like, not like a relationship or anything, but they like got along. Because he doesn't seem to get along with anybody, right? In the beginning, he's very cold, very distant. It's all about him being this super cool dude, like, to the point where it's almost obnoxious. And then I think that part of getting along with Jessie just a little bit, just softening him up just a little bit before we meet some of the other characters, like him rescuing her there when he helps her out, was just perfect. It was just right on point. And that's where I say, like, the subtlety in the story and stuff like that, and this character, you know, if you can overlook some of the kind of cornball-y stuff later on, can be very nice. It can be just very subtle and very, very heartwarming. And then it also makes you enjoy the characters more later on, as you find that, you know, we need to be able to have a character that is cool, but is also relatable and eventually likable. And I know a lot of people look at him and see this very whiny emo character. And once again, not to give too much away in the story, and once again, I'm assuming people who have are watching this stuff or seeing it, this is not your first exposure to the game. I'm not gonna lie, I'm not, because I'm not doing 100% or anything like that. I'm not sure it should be your first. I suggest playing through the game yourself. You'll find later on that the character that you see now is not the real character. There's more to what's going on here than this clearly, a bit of a dork, emo dude kind of thing there. See, once again, there a little bit of that relationship building with Jess. And we get some of the, once again, that fabulous CG that we had when we were younger. This was amazing at the time. And that's pretty much, the end of the opener to it. And once again, setting a tone for the game. So, what we're going to do, we're going to call it here. This will be my first video, and I hope you all enjoy it, and I hope you come back to listen to me drone on more about my favorite game, and then hopefully once Matt is actually not here because he's on vacation to Mexico, when he comes back, we'll start looking at doing our regular thing. We're going to do a couple different shows. We'll put together a bit of a timeline eventually. For now, we're just kind of messing around and want to see where this goes. So thank you for listening in. Subscribe so you can see when I ever do put out any more material, and we'll go from there, all right? Have a nice day.